My name's Graham Hull. I'm an archaeologist with the consultancy TVAS Ireland Limited. I want to talk to you today about two sites that I excavated back in 2019 near Glentees in County Donegal. First is a mixed Beaker period and early Bronze Age site with pottery and lithics as well. And the second is a late Bronze Age moss-lined timber trough with a burnt stone mound. This is a location map of the two sites. We have Letterilly 2, and then just to the northwest of that, maybe 500 metres to the northwest of that, is Letterilly 1. Both sites are maybe 5 kilometres northwest of the town of Glentees, which essentially is in mid-County Donegal on the west side by the coast. This is an aerial photograph showing the location of the two archaeological sites. We've got Letterilly 2 at the bottom of the picture, and then further towards the top, we've got Letterilly 1. You can see the sea in the background there. The two sites are separated by an archaeological monument that's known locally as the Doctor's Brae. That monument's listed as a ring fault cashel. So what I'd like to do first is to describe Letterilly 2. That's the southernmost of the two sites. You can see here that we've opened an area that was based on test trenching. Test trenching located some prehistoric pottery. So when we've cleared back here, you can see that there's a lot of glacial erratics, and I presume they're relatively in situ glacial erratics. And it's perhaps partly because of those glacial erratics that prehistoric soils have survived between the erratics and not necessarily been subject to intensive agricultural activity, perhaps in the modern period. So this is a plan of the excavated area of Letterilly 2. And as you can see, there's an area of soil, the paler colour, and then artefacts were only found in this very small concentrated area that's coloured in slightly darker. And this is self-evidently an aerial photograph of the excavation area of Letterilly 2. You can see there that we've got slots that we've excavated initially, and then we later clean back all of the soil. You can see the darker area there perhaps to the left of the yellow high-vis coat. This is another view of Letterilly 2. You can see the cashel in the background, and note the density of the glacial erratics in the excavation area. This is another view of the site during excavation. This photograph nicely shows the darker soil against the orange natural geology. Another view of the site during excavation. A lot of the artefacts were found within the frame of this photograph. Within the soils we recovered prehistoric pottery sherds, flint and chert tools, as well as cremated human bone. Radiocarbon dates span the period between 2600 BC and 800 BC. 4 prehistoric vessels were represented. These were a single Chalcolithic jar-like domestic beaker and 3 early Bronze Age bowl food vessels. The Chalcolithic beaker is shown here as vessel 1 at the top. This find is particularly rare, and it's the first find of this pottery type in Donegal. The early Bronze Age food vessels, vessel 2, and then on the next slide vessel 3, are a more common find in Donegal, although they tend to concentrate more to the south and the east of the county. The Letterilly pottery assemblage is important as it is rare to find beaker and food vessel pottery on the same site. Cremated bone was also found, some unidentifiable species, but human bone was also found, along with some non-human bone. The human bone is from a single adult who likely lived and died nearby some 3,000 years ago. The bones represent the cremated remains of one individual of undetermined sex and age. Other artefacts were recovered from the buried soil, including this hammer stone or perhaps a rubbing stone. Also recovered were these flint tools, and these obviously wouldn't be out of place in an early Bronze Age context. So in conclusion, Letterilly 2 is a relatively significant site in that we have pottery from the Chalcolithic and from the early Bronze Age on the same site and essentially in the same location. We also have indications that there may be funerary and domestic activity happening on the site. The identification of the Doctor's Brae just to the north of the site as a cashel, which might indicate an early medieval date, I think perhaps could be reviewed in light of the findings that we have here. So now I want to talk about Letterilly 1, which as you can see is further to the north there. Letterilly 1, as you can see, is a fullet fear with a timber trough. You can see the timber trough there centrally in the photograph. The dimensions of the burnt stone deposit was 6 metres by 5 metres, and it was about 0.4 metres deep. The trough was timber lined, and it was lined with mostly alder and hazel wood. Radiocarbon date, return to date from the mid-11th to the late 10th century BC. As you can see, the site was waterlogged, so we had relatively good preservation of the timbers. There was evidence of tool marks on those timbers from axes. So here's an illustration of some of the timbers from the trough showing the tool marks. You can see there's axes and perhaps adzes used there as well. So beneath the timber, moss had been packed into the cut for the trough. Within the moss, bramble seeds, alder and yew buds were recovered, which suggests that the trough was built in the late summer or early autumn. And this is a photograph of the type of moss. It's short-beaked wood moss that was recovered, a type of moss that was recovered from beneath the trough. So perhaps the purpose of that was to filter the water in the trough, to clean it perhaps. So that's it. I'd like to thank Transport Infrastructure Ireland, Donegal County Council, the archaeologists from TAI, and also the archaeologists from TVAS Ireland, and all the specialists. Thank you very much. Thanks for listening.